Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Tsuriou. We are the effective squid jig expert. I'm Chen, and today I'll be talking about sink rate, which is one of the important topics that we have to cover to fish effectively. So all the topics that we have covered so far intertwine. So from the anatomy to the jig color science, then we'll be followed by technique and sink rate. These few topics are really important to fish effectively. There's no such thing as one thing will help you to fish more effectively than the other. You need a combine of all elements to help you to fish effectively, because squid they don't have a set temperament, so you need different type of techniques, squid jigs, and also understanding the behavior to target them better. So first we'll talk about squid behavior, back to the anatomy. So squid hide ambush predator, so they hide under the seabed. So it's crucial for us to get the jig to the seabed area where is the target zone. That's where they hang around. So it's important for us to get the jig, understand how do we get the jig down to the bottom at the right sink rate, as well as to be able to stay at the depth for a longer time so that the squid have a chance to attack it. So squid are like human. So they have some that are more outgoing, some are more introvert and shy and timid. So some are born leaders, some are born followers. So you'll see a school of squid, some tend to be in front, some tend to be at the back. So a lot of times you see one come and grab the bait, the other will start following. Or you see a lot of the more timid one, they come and they will head backwards. They'll come and they will head backwards, they won't attack, they're too shy. So we have to understand the behavior of the squid. So if it's prime sunrise and sunset, we can have more aggressive action, where they're more in the feeding mood. So in the sense that they're more, when the bait fish is more active, the jig is more active, they're more willing to chase after. But when it's shutdown time during afternoon, or when there's predator fish around, they tend to be more timid because they are more hiding and stuff. So in the afternoon sun, where they are more easily to be visible to the predator, and the predator is around, so they tend to be more timid. So you have to use the technique, and where the jig sink rate has to be much slower to give them the opportunity to come and explore the jig and to attack it. So this is the behavior. Understanding the behavior is important. So that's why we have the first topic of anatomy. So now, for squid jigs are not made equal. So every brand have their wide range of colors and design. So as you can see, a lot of online, you will see people start posting, they swear by certain jig colors, certain jig and all these things. But a lot of time, these jigs work effectively, but they don't know why it is working effectively. So you have to look at, once you learn our color science, you will be able to determine why these jigs are working much more effectively for people in certain conditions. It's because that the effect, coupled with the weather condition, water condition, and the jig's body effect, so that's why making it effective. So for us, we make the guesswork out of all this for you guys, so that we create jigs that actually will work effectively, and will work even more effectively on certain situations if you select the certain jigs for certain time. So we do have all-day jigs that you can use day and night when you're starting off. Then after, once you get into more advanced, you can use a more specific body type as well as the color type of the cloth to entice, to increase your chance to catch the squid. For boat, you have less competition, so you don't see the effect as much as what you see in land-based. In land-based, when you are getting the right technique, right jigs, and right sink rate, you'll see that you outfish people in the pier effectively. When you're catching, others are not. So now we go into sink rate. So sink rate is one of the most important topic, apart from the jig selection as well as technique. So once you know the squid, how squid behave, how they sing, how they all this, and then there's come to our part, where the jig is important, how we select it, and what effect we're going to use, and what sink rate to target them based on the squid behavior of the day, and also the weather conditions, and also the technique. So the technique also relates to the behavior of the day as well. So it's crucial to understand that as well. So for Tsuriou, we have 5 type of jigs. Each jigs have 3 sizes, and 5 sink rate. So we have size 2.5, 3.0, and 3.5. followed by we have all limited quantities of slow sink, because in Australia, slow sink is not well accepted, the mentality to use slow sink. So, but in Asian countries, it's very well accepted and used heavily because it increases your opportunity to catching more squid. So that's why we have a lot of limited slow sink jigs, but we are created for mostly for our team to utilize, and also for customers that actually do like to utilize this effectively. So each box come with a sink rate at the back. So whenever you go to shop for any other brand jigs or jigs, always look for the sink rate. So this is important so that you keep in mind. And do take in note that these sink rate are tested in lab, so it's not 100% accurate, because there's no wave, there's no other factors such as wind and everything. So it's crucial to know that this is just general knowledge. So you have to make adjustment on the day based on the condition of the wind and the water, to understand that you might need to compensate for the time that is stayed here. So each box should tell you like what size and how long does it take for it to sink per meter. So from that, you will roughly know that what you need to do on the day. So let's say if you're fishing in a land base, so the water is 3 meters ahead. So if you look at the box, it says that, oh, okay, it takes for 2.5, it takes 4.2 seconds to 4.5 seconds per meter. So because it's crucial, a lot of people just cast and pray. They don't have an idea what they are doing. So they just cast and just whip and all this, doing all the fancy stuff, but they don't know what is the purpose of it. So actually each move for squid is not like fishing, where it's very technical. So if you just cast and just doing all this, following what other people are doing without having the idea what it is purpose for, you actually do not catch much squid unless you are just lucky. So we try to turn you into a luck-based fisherman to actually an effective skill-based fisherman. So your squid, really you need to use technique to entice them, because especially for land-based, there's only limited squid come around during that time, and you have to increase your opportunity and potential to entice them. And you have competitors from other fishermen as well. So it's very crucial. So let's say you know that the water out front is about 3 meters, because it's like mid-tide or low tide, so you sort of guess. So it says that for size 2.5, it takes 4.2 seconds to 4.5 seconds. So you say, oh, okay, there's 3 meters there. Let's say we make it 4 seconds, for example. So for 3 meters, 4 seconds per meter, the box say. So I'll make it 12 seconds. So we need 12 seconds to get to the bottom. But 12 seconds will be exactly hit the bottom of the weed baits. It will get you snagged. Therefore, you need to compensate to lower it. So you make it about 3.5 seconds or 3 seconds. So you cast it out. In your mind, start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 seconds was snagged. So by 11 seconds, you start doing your whip, to start doing your action. So that way, you will not snag. So knowing the sink rate and to get it back, get your jig down to closer to the bottom of the weed bait is very important, so that your squid have the opportunity to attack. Because squid, as like I say, is ambush predator. They stay at the bottom of the weed baits waiting to attack. So if your jig is not at the bottom of the sea bait, they do not have a chance to see it or attack it. So we call it the strike zone. So you need to get the jig to down to the strike zone. So also, why do we use slow sink jig and other sink rate? So for us, it all depends on what you want to do on the day. Let's say if your intention is to catch big squid, then that's to you, big squid is the most important. Then you focus on using the big jigs and the bigger jig that you can use based on the water condition. For us, we want to fish effectively. Our effective is to catch more squid at a shorter time frame. Because for small jigs, you can catch big squid and small squid. But for big jig, you only can catch big squid. Because smaller squid will tend to get intimidated by big jigs. So it all depends on what you want. So if I would like to catch lots of squid in a short period of time, then I try to use the smallest jig possible based on the water condition that it allows. So let's say the water condition is very calm, I would opt for 2.5. But if you want bigger squid, you can opt for size 3 or 3.5. So because calm waters, the water you know that you will sink quite consistently based on what it says here. so you know when to do your action and everything. But if the water condition is like the tide is moving up and down, constantly changing the tide, then you have to understand the sink rate better, is to try to get it as low as possible to the seabed. So for us, we usually go for 2.5 when weather condition permits. If the weather condition does not permit, then we opt for size 3 for the purpose of the sink rate. So if you can get the 2.5 jig to sink on the day, go for the smaller jig, because small jig can catch small squid and big squid. So that way, you actually go down to the area. But if the current is too strong and does not go down, then opt for bigger jigs, size 3. So the reason you go for bigger jig for us is to try to get it to be able allow it to go down to where the strike zone is. So we don't opt we don't opt for big jigs because of trying to catch big squid. We opt for bigger jigs because of the sink rate, so that it allows it to sink much faster to get down to the strike zone. So come to the squid behavior. So when the prime time doesn't matter, because your jig swings faster, it's more active, and the squid actually become more aggressive and they will actually attack it. But if you're using during off-peak time, like normal sink rate, and sometimes the squid will be more cautious, so they're more timid, they calm, but your jig is swinging so fast. I'll just take a proper jig. So your jig is swinging so fast, and they just come explore and they're shy, and they won't attack it. So if you go for slower jigs coming down like that, they come explore it, and they still have chance to attack it. So squid have few ways to attack. So during the off-peak time and the peak time as well. So when it's aggressive, they'll just outright use their 2 tentacles and grab the jig and just attack it. But when it's quiet time, we'll try to entice their behavior to be curious. So that's why at times you see why you catch the squid on a candle, only on a candle, is because they are curious. They come and touch it, but they got hooked. So when it's quiet time, we use different technique to entice their different behavior. So sometimes they attack with a tentacle is because that the squid is big. They see this is an easy food source. It looks like it's dead. So because they're born to feed and to breed, so they need to grow very fast. They only have 1 year of life. So they'll see this is a slowly sink. This is easy food source. They just grab it and try to grab it and just eat it. So when they grab it, they get hooked on the tentacle. So it doesn't mean that hooking on the tentacle is just fluke, but hooking on tentacle actually is that squid might just see this is an easy food source, so they just grab it and just try to chew it on rather than attack it. They see the bait is already dead. So the other one is that when it's sunny, they are more curious, they are more cautious, so you need to entice their curiosity to come and check out the squid jigs to have a possibility of attacking the squid jig. Because when they are more timid, they do attack, they do grab and eat it, but at times they also do just come and touch it and they get hooked. So that's why it's important to understand how to entice different squid behavior, to understand the behavior to try to improve your catch rate. So that is important. That is why, so understanding the squid anatomy and behavior will actually increase your catch rate, is because you entice the different behavior based on sink rate as well. So let's say in the afternoon, they are very shy. So if your jig is singing this fast, your jig is singing this fast, my jig is singing slower like that, and yours is going down fast, they come and check it out, and they'll see this one is already gone. But this one, you see they're still coming down and still checking out, then after that they'll attack it. Because it's more supple, it's going down slowly, so that's why we use slow sing during when it's quiet time, especially in the afternoon or when squid behavior is more timid. We give the chances of the jig to sing much slower compared to fast sing. So if you go slower, because on and off you'll see squid do come and follow the jig. Once they come follow, but they back off, they don't attack it. But once you swap over with a slow sing, you give them more chances in the water column. They will come and have more chance to check it out before they attack it. So sink rate is very important to correlate with the behavior of the day. So if you do see my live stream on the other day, it was a really bad day. I already know that the condition was bad because it was the only sunny day left for the week that our team would want to maximize the chance to have a fish before the rain sets in for the whole week until Tuesday. So it's been raining since the day I fished, and that day It was a snapper because of the weather condition. So we're still having a snapper season at the moment. So my friend was out in a kayak. So out in the front, right where I'm fishing, he was kayaking. So he would back up on pinkies and snapper. So I know that in my mind, I already know the conditions. And secondly, I know there's predator fish right out in front. So the squid to come in the early morning and the afternoon is going to be hard. So I only caught one squid in the morning. But in the evening, when the sun's setting, the squid didn't fire up as well during the feeding time. Why? Because they're still light and they're still timid to come close to shore. As it went dark, the water cooled down as well because that day was a really hot day. So it was the first hot day during the whole spring. So that was our first hot day we have. So the the water temperature, I know is that in the shallow, it's going to be quite hot as well because tide was going out as well. So it's going to fluctuate, and the squid doesn't like water that is not on a consistent temperature. So they move deeper, where the water column deeper column is more consistent. So I know that the temperature was not good, and there was predator fish around. So when the sun starts setting, the squid start coming in, but I know predator fish is still around. So they were very timid, and I was using the this pink jig. So I know that they were very timid, and the big squid did not come in, so only the small one. So they managed to sneak in. So the bigger one, they did not bother to come in close because they just get seen by the bigger fish easily. So the squid was all small, so I know there was a small squid. And two, because predator fish was around, so they are more timid. So I opt for a size 2.5 slow sink. So my technique actually slowed way down as well, because normally I do whacking action and all this fancy action as well, so which all have a purpose, which I will teach next as well. So different techniques actually imitate different fish or prawn. So that one I'll teach in the next lesson, which is one of the part of the 4 main things that you need to learn to fish effectively. So for that day, I cast it out and I let it sink really, really slow and slow. Pretty much every time when you fish, be patient, because the sink rate, a lot of people whack it too fast. That's why they don't catch squid. So that's why you have to understand the sink rate and let them sink too close to the bottom. So because it takes a long time, for a slow sink, I can wait for 30 seconds to 40 seconds. That's why you see on my live video, I'm just standing there stagnant for quite some time, because I'm actually internally, I'm counting to let the squid jig sink to the bottom. So actually every movement I do, I actually have a plan. So that's to help entice the squid. So if the squid is there, you increase your chances to catching it compared to other people, because you have a plan to execute. So, and everything you're planning from the technique, what you're using the technique to entice their behavior, and also the sink rate, as well as the color of the jigs and the effect of the jigs for the day to match the day as well. So I was letting my slow sink really, really slow to the point that I pretty much stand there for 45 seconds, because it was the tide is quite coming from high tide to low tide. So I was waiting for a really long time, and also giving the more times for the squid to come out to check this jig out, because they're very timid and they were very small. So if you look at photos from I posted this morning, the squid are relatively small, but the jig I used was 2.5S. So the slow sink to give them an opportunity to come and check it out to be able to catch them. So our other team, Tsuriou Dia, he was using a size 2.5, but he was only catching less than me. It's because that his sink rate is still faster, and he was using size 2.5 and 3 as well to try to get the distance to hopefully catching the bigger squid out front, further out, but you do no success. So understanding sink rate is very important. So always give it time, because a lot of people don't understand the time that you need to give the jig to sink to the bottom. So always look at the box for a general idea, but compensate it to give a compensate based on the current of the current. If the water current is strong, try to add a few more seconds to it. Then if it's windy as well, try to add a few seconds to it as well. And for windy days, if you're using a slow sink, also do note that you need to normally you cast it out, your tension is usually tighter. For the line, you try to tighten the tension of the line so that you can see when the squid grab the jig. But for slow sink, it's different. After I cast it out, I let go more line to make it more looser. Because slow sink, they sink so slow, and if you tighten your drag, the line, you actually just get stuck and float there if you tighten your line So you're just stuck in the middle, it doesn't sink down. So if you have to let it more compensate and put a lot of loose line for it to give it the chance to slowly sink down. So that is one technique that you have to bear in mind, because a lot of people use slow sink, but they don't know that they actually need to provide extra line to compensate for the slower sink to go down. So that's why they take longer to go down. Your line, you'll see, is a lot of slack line initially, but slowly as it goes down, you'll become tighter as well. So slow sink is a crucial thing that we try to educate people to use at times when it's quiet, or when the squid behavior is tend to be more cautious, or they are more nervous, and when they're not in the feeding time. So that's why how we can outfish people on the pier or on the rocks, or when we are catching, they are not catching, is that a combination of all these techniques. You need to understand the jig color, the jig effect. So this is a crucial thing as well. Using the right jig. So I was using this one. It's very effective. It's white because during sunset you have a shade of pink. So in the shade of pink, you'll actually enhance the pink color when you make it brighter. So the silhouette create is more vibrant. And also that because it's a glow jig, it actually absorbs the UV from the sun and actually make it a UV silhouette. And also it's getting dark, so it actually glows as well. So I was using this to target the 3 vision of the squid, the UV vision, the silhouette, as well as the glow as well. So that is why you have to understand the color science and the jig selection as well, and also understand the behavior of the squid on the day. So in the morning, if you look at my live stream for that day, the morning I was trying all different techniques, the hopping technique, the darting technique, the slow squid moving technique, and also I was changing multiple different jigs based on the condition where you will find that it will be effective. But it was very hard because the squid just wasn't there. And when the squid wasn't there, whatever you do, it will not catch. But when the squid start coming in, if you're using the right technique, the right sink rate, and the right color, it's very important. Then you start catching. So do understand. Try to use the sink rate where the weather condition allow you to. So the water condition, when you get there, look at the current. If the current is not that strong, go to the lowest size of the jig possible that you can. Because why? Because effective is very subjective. For us, our effective is actually to catch more squid at a shorter time, because we don't like to waste our time to spend for 10 hours, 12 hours, 16 hours just to catch one big squid or 2 squid, and that's just waste of time. So for us, we use our effective techniques and effective jigs and effective understanding of the squid color and behavior, the behavior and the color. So we try to utilize all this to actually fish effectively. That's why we call ourselves the effective squid jig expert, because we create this color science to understand how to utilize that. And it's important because like for jig, it's crucial because it's no point wasting so much time to just fish for long hours just for one squid. So utilize the right sink rate. So we opt for small squid jigs possible for the day. It's because why? For the big squid, it's easier to target them, because why? They have to feed ferociously to cater for their body energy. So for them, when they're feeding time, they'll attack aggressively. But when they're in the relaxed mode or in a more hiding mode during the afternoon, they'll just sit at the bottom there. When they see a slowly coming down jig, a small jig that is way smaller than them, they'll just take it like grab it like a snack to try to eat it. So you catch a big squid easily. So use small jig, you catch big squid, and you catch small squid as well. Why you catch less big squid at times compared to just a big jig is why? Because small jig, you can still target small and medium squid. So they might grab it before the big squid grab it. But if you're just using big squid, if you spend 10 hours, 12 hours just try to target a big squid, you will still catch it. Why? Because you're just targeting one type of squid, the big one, not the small or the medium. So using small jig, people say, oh, you're just catching small and medium squid. Yeah, but if I catching volume, if I'm using a small jig, I catch a lot of small and medium size, and my back limit is 10, I can just catch the first one, or small, I can just chuck it back. I have the opportunity to upsize. So if I can, in 1-2 hours, I know I can catch 20 squid, but if I can choose the smaller one and release it, I can catch and release, as well as I can upsize and catch more as well. So you have the more fun of deep catching squid, rather than just sitting there hours on hours of doing the action where egging is quite tiring. So the effectiveness is that we teach you the technique to try to use the smaller jig where it sink the water condition allow you to, so then you can catch more squid. When you catch more squid, you can upsize, you can have more fun to catching it, and you enjoy the sport more. So that is why we teach you to use smaller jig that the water column allow on the day. So 2.5 is what we will go for at the start. That's why a lot of people say, oh, why do Asians always use the small jig and stuff? But it's not because we just want to catch small squid and the volume. It's because that it's more effective to target small and big squid, and we can catch squid and determine if we want to keep it or release it, and we can upsize as well. So if you just, and just to give you opportunity to actually having the fun of catching the squid, not just whacking for hours and all these things. So a lot of people question me on my photos like, oh, do you catch big squid and all these things? And I'll just show you. Whenever I tell them that I'm sick of catching big squid, because why? It's just wasting my time, because I just spend hours and hours, because big squid, they don't school, because they are in the breeding, they are so big already, they're close to the end of their life, so they're just breeding, so they are more territorial, so they usually are just come in a pair or just one. So once you catch one, you're going to spend hours waiting and out for long hours for the other to come. So what's the point of trying to target the big squid? So for me, I'd rather catch a variety of squid and give you the opportunity to enjoy the technique and try to master your technique as well. So I catch squid like that, the big squid. So whenever I show them the photos, then they keep quiet, say, oh, okay, I understand now. Because in social media, they always attack you and criticize you. I guess recently I will post in the Chinese social media as well. A lot of like the trolls will come and tell us like, oh, why your jigs is only catching small squid and all these things. But we are teaching people how to catch effectively, not just to show big squid. Because some company market their jigs in Victoria. One of the spots is Flinders. So that spot is full of kelp. So for us, we don't want to go there just to fish for long hours, just to catch one squid to show. It's good for marketing, because why? People will say, whoa, your jig catch big squid. And they start going to that spot. Because that spot, Flinders, is actually, to us personally, is a very technical spot where you actually need to know the sink rate, use the right pound line, and different technique as well. If once you don't get it right and you're new there, you tend to get snagged to the kelp and you lose plenty of jigs there. That is why that company actually loves to promote that spot. It's because when people goes there, they lose their jigs, they will just shop more. But the owner will show that, whoa, I catch big squid and stuff. For us, we don't like to do that. It's because that it's not good to try to set the standard for people that jigs is to catch big squid. Jigs is to catch. How effective it, and their standard of effective is different. Because especially the China market, they always think, oh, your jig catch big squid, that means it's effective. For us, we usually try to educate them to try to change their mindset, is that small jig can catch a wide variety of squid, but the big one can only catch the big squid. So you have to change your mindset as well to try to understand that don't be worried to use small jig. Don't always have the mentality of go big or go home. So that mentality, you end up spending for hours and hours fishing, and you get bored of the fishing, and end up you catch nothing as well. And over time, you get sick of squid fishing. So try to use the squid sink rate where the water column allow. So if the water current is getting strong and the wind, then upsize to size 3 to utilize it. But if you see the current is not too strong as well, and the squid is not biting, then opt for 3.0S. So we'll slow sink, so that you give the opportunity for the jig, let's say for 2 meters to the bottom of the seafloor. Normally it takes about 8 seconds. If you use a slow sink, it maybe takes about 12 seconds. So you give an extra 4 seconds of sink rate for the jig to go down, where the squid have the opportunity to come explore, to attack. So the longer the jig stay in the water column, it give you more chance for them to explore and to attack. So because sometimes they are not in aggressive mode, and during the prime sunset and sunrise, sink rate might not affect anything as well as the action. Because why? That's why people say, oh, I'm using cheap jigs, but I'm still catching. But what time are you fishing? You're fishing in the sunrise and sunset. So those things might not affect, because they are so aggressive that they will see whichever jig it is, they will just attack it. But when you come to a slow afternoon or a slow day where there's predator fish around and they're more timid, you will see, especially in land-based technique, squid jig and the sink rate is very crucial, especially sink rate when it's quiet time. It's because that the squid are more timid, so you have to entice their curiosity and other behaviors to actually attack the jig. So you don't actually entice them to attack the jig because they see it as a food, but they're just curious and they might think it's just an easy food source, they grab it. So that's why you try to make it look even more dead compared to art. Because normally the squid jig is sinking so fast, and if it's going so slow, they might think that this bait fish is dying. So I'll just go and grab it. But I'm curious as well. I'll swim and check it out first to make sure that it doesn't attack me. That is why they come and they hit back, and they come back again and hit back. So the third time they come, they finally attack it. But the slow sink is still allowed them to attack it because it was in the water column for so long. So at times, try to, if you can, try to add a few slow sink jigs into your arsenal as well. But if you don't, just try to use the smaller jigs size possible based on the water condition. So it's very important to learn this technique of understanding and utilizing slow sink to entice the squid behavior. So we have covered jig color selection. So for jigs, you target their visual, their behavior of the squid. So the UV vision, the glow vision, and what's it called? As well as the silhouette, so the black and white vision. So for jigs is to target those their predatorial attack senses. So for slow sink, it's actually to entice their for the sink rate, it's actually to entice their behavior and to give them time to attack. So also it's important, like I say, for both it's easier. You can see on the sounder, 3 meters, 5 meters. Then you need, based on that, you can internally count how long it takes for it to sink when you're casting out from the boat, because your sounder already tell you how deep it is. But to master the skill in land-based is much harder because you don't know how deep the further out is. So you have to actually guess. So for the people that actually are more expert in squid fishing, it's because partly they are able to guess how deep it is at the point of time. So for this technique, you will see that actually even fishing as well. For us, we fish for mackerel and yaka and those type of fish. For us, we use float fishing. Float fishing, we always outfish people on the pier. Why? Because we know how deep to set our float is. So because of fish, as you see, actually where they swim, you can physically see the fish, but to judge the depth is different because the water distortion. So for expert that can actually read the water column to try to compensate and judge how deep to set their float is, they actually catch much more. So that is why it's important to master the skill to try to identify how deep where you're casting based on the current tide, because the tide is constantly changing. So on that day I was doing the live, it was very hard because the tide was going out constantly. So I have to constantly adjust my sink rate as well to not snag, and also to ensure my squid jig get to the bottom. So that is very important to understand as well. So to master your skill is all, that's why how you can outfish other people is because all this combination of all this technique that a lot of people wouldn't teach you is because that they fish in the land-based as well. They want to catch the limited squid around. So you have to learn yourself, and we are willing to share. So you have to learn this and try to master it yourself to go out there and test it so that you can outfish them as well. Then because these are all fishing is a lot of times a selfish sport in a way, because a lot of people are not willing to share. They share the basic stuff, how to tie the knot, how to do all this and all that, but they actually internally they know why they choose certain jigs, why they choose certain lures for targeting tuna or whatever fish, or why for us we catching let's say when we are targeting our mackerel, we actually what we do is that even down to our burley, which is actually a secret. So what we mix into our burley and all these things, and how we set up our float and all these things, and how we tie our hook and how we present our bait, these are all actually very technical. But that is why we can catch more fish compared to other people. So if you know all this technique and you fish based on skill and technique, as well as understanding of what you need to use in a proper way, you actually can outfish people. So a lot of time, all this secret is very hard to learn because no one willing to share. So I was pretty lucky that I have met a lot of experts in different field. So I have bream friends that actually are expert in fishing bream. So they teach me the lures and all this stuff. and that's expert in fishing King George and all this kind of thing. So every different fish species, they actually have a technique to catch it. So that's why you see a lot of Asian, they use cheap gear, but because of the standard of living is pretty low, so they need to fish for food. So they actually tend to use cheap gear, but their skills are really impressive because why? They have to up their skill and technique to catch the fish in volume to feed their family. So they focus on technique and skill, not because of the gear. For us, Western country is more a hobby, so we enjoy more cast and prey and all these things. So we spend hours and all these things to just cast and prey. So to improve your catch rate, you actually have to learn all this, the sink rate and everything, and utilize that to help you to catch much more effectively. So if you have any question, do let me know. I'll just be here for maybe another 2-3 minutes to see if any questions. So remember to utilize the sink rate. So try to go as low of a size that you can to allow it to sink, to target the squid from a small to big squid, as well as to target squid that is more timid, and also squid for larger squid that to entice them, to show that it's just a easy food source. They just grab it as a snack and just eat it, so that you can hook on them. So that is important as well. So see what you have. Any more question, just feel free to ask. Oh yes. So the next topic I'll cover is either technique or the UV vision of squid. I was going to cover 2 topics this week, but unfortunately the sun does not permit. We have a UV modified camera. This is a specialized camera, so it's not a normal DSLR. So internally the shutter is already removed, so that it doesn't. It allows only allow UV to go through, because normal camera actually filters out the UV. For this camera, we already modify it, and it's quite costly to modify, and you will see UV. So pretty much you will see how UV works. So I was hoping to be able to do to showcase it outdoor, because you need the sun to actually shine on my face or shine on the products, the jigs and all these things to actually to allow the camera to work. Because the camera don't see anything unless it has UV light, so it's very crucial. I'll just see if I can turn on, I'll grab a UV light to give you an idea how it looks like, so that you have an idea what the next topic is about. I'll just grab a UV light, just give me a second. Just give me a second, I'm just grabbing the UV light. So I try not to do this topic indoors, because the UV light is quite damaging to my skin and my eyes. So personally, I don't really want to shine the UV light on my face. Check if it works. So this is the you see in the back of the camera. I'm not sure if it works because there's not much UV. So if I shine on my face, you actually see my glasses is actually black. Not sure if you can see it. Let me see. It's a bit too bright. Let me try to get it. Turn to get it not reflected. Now it's going to be hard to see. Yeah. So anyway, so because it's not good to shine the UV on my eyes, so I'll show you on a sunny day for this course. So the next master class topic. So once we have a sunny day, I'll pick a day to do it. So pretty much what this will show is that it's like my glasses is equivalent to what a glow jig is. So when the sun is shining on it, you absorb the UV, and actually that's why you reflect you show them. My glasses become black, pure black, because it absorbs the UV and protect my eyes from the UV. So you see my face will be all normal colored, and but that one will become black. So it's like a glow jig. Glow jig, you absorb the UV and we create a UV silhouette for the squid UV vision. So that's something that we don't just telling you UV, UV, UV. UV is a really complex topic. So we'll teach you how to see through the eyes of the squid in a UV vision. So it's pretty much through this camera. So this camera will give you the idea of how UV works. It's a complex topic that we'll have to cover. So, because a lot of companies sell UV jigs and stuff, but you don't know actually what's the purpose of it apart from the visual effect. Because UV jigs tend to be more fluorescent because of the material of UV. Because UV material usually tend to absorb the UV and actually will reflect the fluorescent visible light to what we see as neon and other colors. So those are just fancy colors that will actually attract us, human eyes more. But the purpose of the UV is to attract the squid UV vision. So it's understanding that is very crucial as well. So once you do, like I say, squid jigs, why are ours more effective compared to others is because that we teach you how to understand to utilize not only the colors, the effective colors for different weather and conditions, and also to target the three main UV, the three main eyesights of the squid: black and white UV vision, and the glow bright bioluminescent vision as well. So it's very important that you utilize that, and also to use the weather conditions, like the lighting source that's available, as well as understanding how the jig color will work underwater as well. So once you combine that knowledge and use the right color jig, you'll increase the effectiveness of visibility for the squid to see. Then after that, to be effective, you have to use technique to entice them, their feeding behavior, as well as their using the sink rate to target, to give them more opportunity to attack, as well as to target their curiosity as well. So it's a combination of everything. So that's pretty much it. Okay. Yes, Shane. The life cycle of a squid is usually 1 year, but the bigger squid, like the Humboldt and all this stuff, that researchers are still unsure. So those might have 2 years to 3 years lifespan. But the smaller squid species, like the loligo squid, our southern calamari, arrow squid, yes, they're all 1 year lifespan. So pretty much it's just have 1 year. So a lot of times people just catch and they don't release it. But for me, I still catch at times. I just release a smaller one as well, so just to give them a few more months to grow up to catch. But you don't have to catch and release, because squid tend to they're born to eat and feed and breed as well. So they just want to do that. So they grow very fast, and the numbers are quite big, and so it's not an issue for Australia. But in Asian market, they start to deplete because the fishing boats are just ridiculously. They're netting every night, so over time they have to go deeper and deeper to catch the squid. But for Australia, the fishery is still very healthy, so not a problem at all. So it's still quite controlled. So because Paul Carter from Gancraft, he does research with Victoria Fisheries, so they do check out the health of the bay. So the squid, for them, they see is still sustainable, so not an issue at all for squid. So you don't really have to catch and release. So it's not an issue for Australian market. But in Asia, I can see the depletion. That's why in Japan, they start to create more breeding ground for them, the artificial reef and all this stuff, and actually putting branches and stuff into to give them opportunity to breed. So they create more natural environment for their breeding ground to replenish the breeding ground. But because Japan is still control and try to protect them, but I see other Asian countries that I come from and stuff, they do tend to overfish, so which is a concern as well. But for Australia, it's fine, so not an issue at all. So sink rate is very important. Don't just go big jig to go big or go home. This type mentality, always go for smaller possible jig to target the squid. Don't get buy into all those big squid photos and all these things, because all those big squid photos, they spend hours and hours just to catch one or two, because why, as I say, they do not school in a big school. So you catch one, you tend to have to wait for 1 or 2 hours before you catch the others. Like Victoria, the flinders, I haven't seen much people back out, or pretty much no one back out there, because of the area is so, the squid, they tend to be medium size to big size, so they don't tend to school. So it's very hard to catch in a big volume. That is why I also don't suggest people to fish there, because a lot of people in the Chinese social media, they tend to put that as a benchmark, the flinders as a benchmark, to try to say that, flinders, what, you don't know how to fish flinders and all these things. I say, once you learn the technique and the sink rate, the color selection, you can fish pretty much anywhere and what size of squid. So don't worry about what people say about big squid or small squid that you're catching. Once you master the technique that we try to teach you, you can pretty much fish anywhere for any squid or any size as well. So it's the technique and the understanding, the knowledge that will actually help you to fish anywhere, any pier. So over time, I'll be utilizing my knowledge to be going to every single different pier in Victoria first, to try to film how we fish and understand the different pier. Because a lot of pier I don't fish, like especially the west side. So I'll go to a new pier to learn the condition on the day and environment, and utilize all this skill to try to showcase in YouTube videos in the future, to how to use all this knowledge that you can actually fish in anywhere that you go to. So not just to exclusive to certain spot and everything. As long as you know the area have squid, if you use the right technique and the right timing and understanding the condition of the day, you will catch it. So don't have to just get buy into the hype of big squid or flinders and all these things. It's because all these are just marketing gimmick by commercial gains for the business. Because like if you lose jig, for us it's good, because so you buy more jigs. But the plan is that for us it's different. We don't want you to just to lose jig and buy more jigs, because that defeats the purpose. Over time you get bored of the fishing process, and you don't catch squid and you lose jigs, you get bored of it. So we want you to actually enjoy the learn and actually to catch. Once you catch, you actually enjoy more and see our jigs actually is more effective compared to other company, and actually helping you to catch more squid. Then you're willing to spend more with us. We rather that way than you try to attract you to certain spot where we know that it's actually more for expert people, and using the gear that is actually more hard, more not so, because for flinders is different to normal fishing. For other sport, we can use 15 pound to other pound line is fine, or 8 pound line is fine. But for flinders, you have to use much higher poundage. So that's why one guy was attacking me saying, oh, I fish 37 centimeter squid, yours one look all tiny and all these things. I fished with flinders for 2 years and all these things. And he said that, oh, I use 30 pound line. I said, 30 pound line for squid fishing, that's a bit overkill. I can fish snapper for that. So if you want to fish flinders, you use braid line that's actually higher poundage, but you tend to have to spend more expensive line so that the diameter is much thinner. That way you can still feel the sensitivity of the squid and you can still catch it more effectively. That is why you have to understand how to utilize the technique to fish different spot, not just buy into companies showing you big squid and you go after whatever jig that they are using and go to the spot that they're fishing. So at the end of the day, you end up getting disappointed and get bored of it. So that is how to try to learn our way of fishing, so that you catch a volume and you have the opportunity to catch and release, to upsize, because you fish more in such a shorter time using the right technique, right jigs, and right sink rate. Yeah. Shane, for Australia, the squid is all round, all year round. It's just that they certain, for us, because they come to a certain spot to breed multiple times a year. So you will see that at the same spot you might catch some small and some medium and some large over different months. But at certain time of the year you actually get more squid at certain spots, because there are more bigger species coming in, bigger specimen coming in to breed. So we call it the season. Actually, it's not really a season, just that they come closer to shore. Actually, in boat, you can actually find them year round. So for me, kayak and boat, we can go deeper. We can actually find them year round, because they're actually in the deeper waters where the water condition is more consistent. So for the land base, it's much harder. So they come closer at certain time, because the water temperature is more stable. But deeper waters are the conditions are more stable. That is why they tend to go deeper. So during sunny days, they tend to go deep, too cold. When winter is too cold, they actually, for us, I don't really fish because they go slightly deeper. So because of our casting distance, it's a bit hard to catch them. So also when it's too hot, at times they'll go deeper as well. And just like fresh water, when it's heavy rain a lot, I don't fish for at least 2 days minimum, so that I let the water to clear off all the fresh water, because once there's too much fresh water on bay, they go deeper as well, because where the water condition is more ideal for them, and too much fresh water, they would not stay close to the shore. All these have to years of experience from fishing, and to see how they behave, and understanding the water conditions and time of day as well. So you can see over time, if you fish, you will see all these different things throughout your fishing journey, so that you can take notes on. That's pretty much it. So in UK, they have more, their weather conditions are much more harsher. So they have a season, and season is when the squid come closer to the shore. But actually in deeper waters, it actually does not affect. That's why commercial fishermen will still fish and able to provide for the retailers and all these fishmongers and stuff. But for fishermen, for us, for the land base and stuff, it will be harder, because we have to wait for the season for the squid to actually come close to the shore. So that is the thing. And because where the temperature is much more ideal for them, when it's too cold or too hot, they do not tend to like to come too close as well. So it has to be a median that actually helps them. That is why there's seasons on different countries, but their season meaning is where the squid do come closer to the shore, not because of boat. Boat doesn't really, you can still go out further to search for them. So that is the difference. I think that's pretty much it that I have to cover today. Sorry for the delay as well, the time delay due to daylight saving for us in Victoria. So our schedule a bit messed up. I had to change the timing. Alright, I think that's it for today. Thank you everyone. If you have any question, just feel free to leave it in the comment, and I'll reply it whenever I see it. Have a nice day, and for the rest, have a wonderful evening as well. Okay, good night.